Hey guys, I do hope you're all doing well and you're keeping safe, sanitizing your hands, wearing your mask, practicing social distancing, and compliments of the new year for those of you that I have not seen in quite a while. Anyway, I'm here today because I just set or there have been events that have been happening this week in my life, positive actually, good things that have been happening that made me realize how good God is, how God continues to favor me, how God continues to be there. Now, so let me just say that today I'm going to give you more of a testimony um, about what I've been doing and stuff, and to understand how much I actually give God praise for, because I'm starting to notice like a pattern on how God talks to me sometimes when He wants to take me to another level. The things that He makes me do, or the things or the ideas that He brings to me, sometimes they don't make sense when they're happening. But then you then see how, everything just, needs together. Now, I'm going to tell you, number one, when I was still in Zimbabwe before I came to China, when I was still in Zimbabwe, University of Zimbabwe decided to start a Chinese class, you know. And one day I was reading the newspaper, the Sunday news, and then I see this call by the University of Zimbabwe to start a Chinese. That was in 2006, right? And then I just said, I'm gonna go. And now I want you to understand this. I just wanted to do Chinese for me to be able to speak to the waiters at the Chinese restaurant that I was frequenting of every weekend. So for me, going to do Chinese, it was not for me to go to China. It was not for me to get a job. It was for fun. It was for me to be able to communicate with the Chinese restaurant people. Now, but I want you to follow me, hey, why I'm saying this. I want to show you how God works. So I would say that God pointed Chinese language to me because he wanted me to end up in China. But when I was doing it as Samantha in my brain, in my level of thinking, I was doing it for me to be able to communicate with the Chinese restaurant people. So we did the Chinese course was a year long, and then we were then brought to China for a cultural exchange, which was then the very first time that I came to China in 2007. Now, when I came to China 2007, there were not as many Africans that we had, and also um, not even, I'm from Zimbabwe, not even so many Zimbabweans that were here. So we came for the cultural exchange at the Renmin University, and then we went back, and things happened back home that ended up bringing me back to China. So when I came to China, during that time, so the Olympics and stuff like that, they wanted to learn English, and I became a teacher. So I started teaching, but then when I was teaching, the people here had a version of what Africa and Africans were, right? So the picture of Africans that they had was the Africans, they're coming in from poverty, from, having flies all over their mouths, from not having houses. The picture of Africa that they had, that we live with animals, we live in the jungle. They didn't have a picture of Africans that went to school, or the Africa that they noticed with the Africa that didn't have houses, because you'll have questions on like, also, do you live in a house, or how did you get here, and stuff. So this kind of hurt me, and also noticing that being a teacher, I was getting less, paid less as compared to the white people and stuff. So it started to get to eat me, deep inside. Like, why is there discrimination? Why is this happening to me? Why are they treating black people like this? And then it led me to quit teaching and decide, okay, I think let me just go back to school instead of, having to go through this. Now, when I went to study my MBA, I went back to school and I did an MBA. My MBA was basically from a Spanish university, but it had partnered with a Chinese university to bring the program together because the program was basically BRICS, which was Brazil, Russia, India, and South Africa. So it was more like studying global imaging markets. So they wanted to put the base in China. So during that particular program, it got worse, like I started to realize that even my classmates didn't understand where I was coming from, having questions on how am I affording this MBA and how did I get there and stuff. So you can actually see that for them they don't understand why an African can be in this particular program. I'll tell you, my MBA program was actually 90,000 euros. So you would have such questions of like, where, are you on scholarship or what? How are you even here? And those questions and some of the, part of the course that you'd see their thoughts of Africa, seeing us as people who don't even know cars and stuff like that. So this combined with what was happening when I was teaching, made me decide to start Appreciate African Network, the organization that I founded here in China to try and promote Africa, you know, to try and educate people, to try and create awareness about Africa and Africans and our culture. So, starting this, as I said before, during that particular time, there were not as many Africans, and no one was also doing this. This is one point that I want to stress. No one was actually doing anything to promote or to market Africa. There was talks of China, Africa, this, but it was government to government programs, where government embassies are talking to the Chinese government, or the presidents are coming in for the forums, China Africa forums. But on the grassroots, there was nobody doing that. So I decided I was going to start to do this. And I remember walking door to door to each embassies, trying to put appointments to see the ambassadors, to see anybody that could actually listen to the idea that I have of promoting Africa here in China. And it took a lot, being a student and also not having an income, not having sponsorship or anything. It was like too much. And but still I did not quit, even though Africans were laughing at me as in, what am I trying to do? Africans not even wanting to join me, because some of them, they wanted to be employed. So to be employed, they didn't want to associate with Africa. So some of them were now calling themselves, British, Canadians, Americans, just to shy away from being called an African. So for them to join me, they'll say, you know what, we love what you do, but we can't join you because if we do, then people know we're from Africa. So it's and for me to make myself that sacrificial lamb of like, okay, I'm the one. I'm gonna stand for everybody. Wherever I'm gonna go, I'm gonna be that face of Africa, and shields that the Africans were still wanted to be there in the background, but at the same time, me trying to fight for their rights, me trying to end that discrimination that they were facing. So it took a toll on me. And I'm a single mom, two kids. Those two kids who expected me to also be supporting them. And then I had Africans that looked up to me to try and be a change. And it was hard. I'll tell you, it was hard. But I didn't stop. Uh, after I finished my MBA, I decided to go back into that teaching, that teaching where I was being called a black teacher, the teacher who parents didn't want to, to teach their kids, that African teacher that parents didn't want, that, oh, let me just say this, that fat African, not fat black teacher that, schools didn't want to hire because parents would want a white teacher. Why are we having a black teacher? We want a white teacher. So I had to go back and get that measly salary, at the same time saying, I will take the punches. I will take everything that they're saying, but I'm going to use this money to start my organization. I'm going to use this money to finance it to help Africans. So I did that, just that teaching at the same time, building my organization. And I think some of you know the story that happened in Wuhan, where there was that exhibition of Africans being likened like animals. Me going there by myself, fighting the Chinese government to try and block that exhibition. And staff having to stand for Africans, to ask for an apology and everything, doing all that, to go everywhere where people would call me. The victims were of trafficking, Africans who were brought in from Africa, but then used, as prostitutes and stuff like that. Me fighting for those people. Now I want you to understand, I was no activist when I came to China. Neither did I know anything about law. Neither did I know about advocacy. I was just an individual who was touched by the things that were happening to Africans. Me, being just there and people now calling me for things that I did not have any expertise. Now, I want you to understand that in China, they are not, o- they, they're not organization that actually fight for, human rights organization that stand for people, especially our people. And now I was that person that Africans would call, and Africans would look up to try and say, you're going to answer our problems that I didn't even know how to answer. But then, I did not turn anyone away. When I started this, I started it to promote Africa, more like as a marketing thing to say, I'm going to market Africa. But I didn't know that starting this would actually then bring some Africans who are having problems and not know where they're supposed to go and trying to find help. Now, I did all this trying to, so I had different programs that I then initiated to say, okay, this is going to fight for this is going to fight for this. And, like with racial discriminations, issues of refugees, issues of students coming in and they're sick, they can't go back home, then, all those things. And I was trying to do that. And then I'll do events. Now I don't have people sponsoring me. I'm using that salary, that small salary, and I'm giving it back to Africans. And I remember there was a certain time that even some people, you know, that I would look up to would say, Samantha, why not stop? Just stop. If this is not making money, if you're not getting, why are you helping these Africans? And that used to really hurt me so much that if only you knew what is happening inside me. It's like, even though I didn't have, but that thing of like, I'll tell myself, okay, I'll quit, I'll just stop because there's no one helping me. But then I'll wake up again and like, I'm going to do it. And sometimes I invite some of these Africans to try and work with me, and some of them won't, say bad things, and they would want money, and I won't even have money. And for them to understand that I use my salary, and people will not understand when they want something to happen, they want it to happen. But then, I continued, I persisted. I remember I got into debt. There are people maybe who who had to ask for money, please. And that money, it was not that I was getting the money so that I use it or so that I feed my family. The money so that I could help Africans, and the same Africans will come and shout at you and all. And it was so hard. It became that cycle of like, you're trying to help. There's no one willing to help Africans in China. There are no business people willing to invest in this, because some people are also scared that, what, this thing involves human rights. Nobody wants to be against the side of, this government, so nobody wants to support something for advocacy. So it became really hard. But and my organization became that organization that I would say was a protection ground at the same time as a training ground. And because there's so many Africans that passed through me by coming to see what I do, and now some of them, they are now doing almost the same thing and stuff, and maybe they got the courage from what they saw, what I was doing. Now, where am I taking you with this? I'm taking you to where I am now. I've spent 13 years in Beijing doing all this, just as I explained, struggling and, putting things together. But at the same time, I got to make a name for myself. I got to that point where, or I am at that point where get called to different countries to try and speak on issues that affect Africans in China and things like that. Now, having done all that, sometime last year, towards April, March, April, a lady called me. One woman called me from another province in China, really small. Remember, Beijing is quite a big city, it's a capital city. One woman called me from a really small city in a tourist attraction in China, and says, she read about me, right? So I don't know this woman, but what she says to me was like, I read about you and I really love what you do, and I think you should come here. In the back of my mind, I'm saying, come there. As you're saying, this is a small place as compared to where I am. There's nobody that I know. So I started thinking, like, man, if only she knew the journey that I did in Beijing to try and be where I am. Why would I want to move to go to a small city? So this is the other point that I want to say, that, like I was saying, that sometimes God, uses different people, or different things for you to get the message. Remember the first time I said I went and I studied Chinese? I didn't know I'll be in China. Now this woman is calling me from Norway. Not that she wants to partner with me, no. Not that she wants to help me, no. But she's just saying she likes what I do, and she thinks if I move to that place, I can make it. Now, I think most of you, your answer will be, I'll think about it. My answer was yes. So after I put the phone down, I said to myself, what did I just do? What I just said yes to going to a place where I know nobody, to a place where, all this. But then I said yes, and I'm like, I didn't even say I'm gonna think about it. I didn't even say that, give me time. But it was more like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do that. And that's what I did. Now, I want you to understand that everything that I'm telling you in Beijing, I was set. It was more like a place where when I say I want to do an event, I don't have to advertise it. It was like just telling a few people and then boom, it's done. But then now I'm saying I'm gonna move to a place, but then I did. But this is what I'm taking you to, that sometimes when God, does stuff, when God leads you, or when God wants you to go somewhere, it just happens. And I've been here, I think this is my third month, but I want to tell you that the struggles that I was doing the past 13 years, I managed to do all these things here within the 3 months. Like I got the recognition, I got, it just, doors just kind of open. And I'm like, because when I was also here, I was like saying, Samantha, you're just going there. What are you going to do to find the network that you had built in Beijing? How long is it going to take you? You're coming to start again from scratch and things like that. But then, of course, I am starting from scratch because trust me, there's no one as well doing anything about Africa. Now, remember, in Beijing, when I started, there was no one. But right now, there is a whole lot of people, Africa this, Africa that, Africa this, Africa that, and stuff. So now I'm here at this place where it's also, there's nothing. So imagine that time when I started in Beijing. This is how it's like. But then it's sort of like a different feel, a different everything. And when God moved me here, it was like in Beijing, you know, COVID and things like that. Things were kind of like, but then God moved me here. I was actually shocked to realize that where I am, there is not even one case of COVID, not even one, meaning that I can still do my events, without blockages. I can still do my activities with nothing that is blocking me. And I was saying, you know what, God, sometimes you would think that, but then He's taking you to a place where He knows that, you know what, you would shine. And it is just amazing because today I was sitting at the beach, which is actually, just a backyard from me. And I was sitting there today. That's when I was thinking, like, you know what, God, you're so beautiful. You are so wonderful. Because I thought my family that I left in Beijing, my friends that I left in Beijing, right now in Beijing, it's winter and it's pretty cold. Cold, I mean. And then also they're still on lockdown. People are not going to work. And then here I was wearing my summer clothes at a place where, there's no winter, a place where there's no COVID. And then I was just sitting by the beach and just listening to the, just feeling that breeze of the sea. And I'm like, God, you're so wonderful. And He knew He had to take me out and put my feet on another level. And I just, getting these opportunities, these offers, these things that are happening that I was like, God, so you wanted me to be here. This is why you wanted me to be here. And this is why you did this. And this is why you used this lady to just call me from nowhere. Someone that I didn't know, someone that I've never met, someone that, just someone calling me and saying, I read about you. It just took that phone call for someone to say that to me and say, I think, you know, you should do this at this place. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it, you know? And here am I. So, this is my testimony, y'all. And I just want to say to some of you that maybe you've got dreams, some of you, you've got things that you want to do, and stuff that, God is amazing. And, I don't know how to explain it. Oh, the other thing that I'd forgot, I just finished another master's with the Hong Kong University. And I'll tell you also, when I started doing that course last year, When I started doing it, it was before COVID, and the money that was wanted for fees was like a lot. I couldn't afford it, to be honest with you, but I just wanted to take that course for my personal and professional development, and also for my NGO. So when I applied for that particular course, I didn't think of the cost at that time, but it was more like, this is the course that I want to do. So I applied for it. Now, this course involved me going to Hong Kong every month, okay, for a week, every month for a week. And this was costly because I had to fly, back and forth, and also try and juggle work, juggle being a single mom, and things like that, and juggle being uh, this person who's starting something. And how I even finish this, it's so amazing. That's when I said, some people are crying that COVID, but me, I'm saying, God, this COVID, He's helped me so much. And so the other part, just a few months of my school, we ended up not traveling back and forth because that was taking a whole lot of money, and it ended up online. So it was more like also a blessing for me, because I was seeing that it was draining me financially to travel every month. But of course, it's something that I was supposed to do to finish. But we ended up doing this course online, which I would say also it was God. And here am I. Because at first I was thinking maybe I should defer. When they told us that there was COVID, even the university told us, oh, if others want to defer, you can defer and continue. So now you can imagine if I deferred, the COVID is still there. So, but then we ended up finishing online, which is really something amazing. So, what I just want to say to you guys out there, I mean, I'm a single mom, a mother of two, and I do everything for my kids, and I try and do all these things. And no matter how hard they are, but I've noticed that God has never left me, and He continues to bless me. He continues to open doors for me. And sometimes, the way he speaks to me comes in different ways, and ways that I don't expect. It's not like maybe you kind of praying and then you hear that voice or something happens. It's something that I do, something that people don't even understand. Why are you doing this? And that's how I notice that, for me, it comes from just that braveness, that boldness, that step, that risk taking of like, okay, I'm going to do this. And it comes in a way that, for me, it might seem as if fine, for me, it might seem as lightly, but that decision or that move actually is the bigger picture of where I'm supposed to be. So I just want to encourage each and every one of you sometimes, and just say that, it's the little things that happen that actually bring us these blessings. Sometimes it's just that person whom you don't know who can come and say, hey, why don't you do this? And sometimes, imagine if I had not listened to that woman and said, you know what, I don't know you. I'm not gonna go. Why would I even go there? I could be in Beijing, stuck in COVID. There's nothing going on. People are, but then I listened. I, and I'm here where God had actually set this table for me to just say, my daughter, just come. It just took that person just telling me that move here, and me moving there to realize that, you know what, He wanted me to be here. So I just want to say thank you to those who continue to support me, and thank you to those, because some of you are saying, yeah, but you left all these things that you started. But I'm like, you know what, God has made me start something else. Maybe I was meant to start and, nurture the people who are going to do it, because some of them, they pass through my hands, and then Now they all run their organizations. And now I'm here again at a new place, and maybe God wants me to be here to start something, and which I have actually. And I think it's also going to be a blessing to the people around, and also to people that would come and pass through me. And so I also pray that God continues to use me in a way that He's using me, in a way that, is to help and uplift people who might not have representation, people who might not have someone that believes in them. And then He just puts me there to be just there for them, to actually give them the platform to showcase their talents, to have maybe their own people see them. So that's something that I pride myself in. That in as much as sometimes I don't get that, but the satisfaction that comes in from seeing that people that come through you, being something, people that, I'll have saved. The other time I had these girls from Uganda that I saved from, trafficking, having them call me to say, Tammy, we're back home. That, for me is, at least I've saved another African. And, having certain things being blocked. And I'm saying, yes, this is me promoting Africa. This is, so, yeah, today, as you will see from the pictures that I'm going to post with this, I was sitting just outside and I was thinking, God, you're amazing, You just brought me to this place where there's no sorrow, where there's no, no crying, no nothing, no COVID, no nothing. And you just took me and from a place where all these things were happening and just brought me to this nice and peaceful environment and new environment, for me to tap into the opportunities that I hear. Thank you so much, guys. And remember to stay safe and always look after yourself.